The 30th problem on this first ACT practice test focuses on the basic properties of trigonometry. The radius of the base of the right circular cone shown below is 5 inches, and the height of the cone is 7 inches. Solving which of the following equations gives the measure theta of the angle formed by a slant height of the cone and a radius. So anytime that you're dealing with trigonometry, my advice is to immediately write SohCahToa. And with this little trick here, it essentially gives the definitions of sine, cosine, and tangent. So for instance, sine, you could say the sine of your angle theta is equal to the opposite, O for opposite, divided by H for hypotenuse. So it'd be the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. So for this particular problem, we want to find our angle and then figure out if we're dealing with the opposite, the adjacent, or the hypotenuse. And the way to do that is just look at your angle. So that's this angle here. And this length here, this long side, this is our hypotenuse. So we're not using the hypotenuse, which means we need to go and look at our 3 trigonometric functions, the sine, the cosine, and the tangent, and ask ourselves which one of these does not use the hypotenuse. And you can see that that would be the tangent function. Okay, so I'll write essentially the definition of tangent, which would be the tangent of theta would be equal to the opposite divided by the adjacent. So let's write that as opposite divided by the adjacent. And now we just need to ask, what is the opposite side length and what is the adjacent side length? So going back to our angle here, theta, we know that this 7 here, we call that the opposite since it's straight across from it. And the adjacent is just the one right next to it. So this right here, this 5 is our adjacent. And like I said, this 7 is our opposite. So we just put those numbers in. The opposite was 7, and the adjacent was 5. So what we have is that the tangent of theta is equal to 7/5, which is choice letter G here. Now, if you actually wanted to know what the angle is, which this question doesn't ask for, but if you're curious, the way to solve that is to solve for theta. And the only way to do that is to take an inverse tangent of each side. So essentially what you're left with is that theta is equal to the inverse tangent, so that would be tangent with a -1 here, of 7/5. And you can actually put this into a calculator. So once you calculate this, you'll find that theta is approximately 54.46 degrees.